So here we are. This is on the right. We have the after working with the core velocity belt. Again, we said we wanted to work on more of back hip dominating the rotation as opposed to the front hip. Just for quick review, if we look at the first video, we see right there coming out of leg kick, we get right here and we see this front hip really taking over. The back side just kind of collapsing down. So the front side really pulling the back side through. And again, we get to this position, we see, the head pulling off, we see the arm, the throwing arm way out off to the side, which leads me to believe this kid's going to have some real consistency problems with control, leaving the ball up and into lefties, down and away from lefties, and he's going to struggle with a breaking ball. He's either going to hang it right over the plate or try to really get some bite on it, and he's going to spike it a lot. When we look at what he was able to do working with the core velocity belt, let's look at some differences. We see the same position coming out of leg kick. And again, if we were to look at this in fast motion, we see, a much better release out over the front side. Let's go back and look at why. So we can look right here. Both of these, doesn't look drastically different, but our area of focus is, right here in the hips, and again right here in the hips, and we're going to see the back hip. Sorry about that. We're going to see the back hip in the video to the right, the back hip being the more dominant force in hip rotation, which allows us to get to a landing that's going to promote the kinetic chain of, or the speed principle. Once one segment fires, the next adjacent segment can fire at a much faster rate. Here with the front hip dominant, we have kind of everything going at the same time, the head having to fly out of the way, hopefully to get the arm there. We see the elbow getting a little bit ahead of the head. Here with the back hip being more dominant, firing the hips open, we're getting to a much better place at landing, much more stable. And as you notice the hip rotation, the hips are actually leading the trunk. Okay, so when we talk about weight transfer, when it's dominated by the backside weight shift, right there, we see, that's a phenomenal change from front side rotation here on the left when we have the backside just kind of dying. Look at the difference in posture as we get into landing. Once one body segment fails, it's up to the next body part to make the adjustment. And here we see on the right much improved landing, posture, balance. Now we're in a much better position for the hips to actually complete their rotation. Again, on the left, you're going to see kind of a collapse. If we were to draw a line just looking at his front side, let me clear that, get you a better line right down the front knee. Sorry. If we look right down the front knee, you're going to continue to see weight shift and transfer kind of forward as we collapse and finish that weight shift. If we look at this side, terrible line, apologize. Look at this line, we're going to see a much more stable front side. It's not exactly straight, but you'll get the idea, as we're able to rotate the hips around a much more stable front side. This is putting us more in sequence to allow the kinetic chain to work up the body and deliver the baseball with maximum force. What that's also doing is allowing the arm to work as efficiently as possible, adding velocity And with a stable front side, this kid's going to notice a lot better command of his pitches. And it all starts with, which hip is dominant in the rotation. As we go back and take one more look, we're coming out of leg kick. We get to this point, we see front hip dominating. On the right side, we see, getting to that point, we see a much more dominant backside. That back hip rotation allows for, the correct posture, the correct landing, the correct rotation of the body, much more command, much better velocity, which I believe the information I received was a 3 to 4 mile an hour difference in velocity on the right side as opposed to the left side. So not only are we improving control, we're improving velocity, and that's what I got.